Times are tough, fellas. My wife, at 27 years, has just left me for a fellow who has all of the top 10 most expensive Fortnite skins. But for me, all I have are these 40 recruits that may or may not be there for me during my hardship. The criteria for the upcoming tier list will be this: active listening, empathy, positive reinforcement, non-judgmental attitude, being there for me, and the ability to offer practical help. Let's hop into all chapters as well as the unreleased files and see who is a helpful hero and who is a careless criminal. So welcome back to the tier list. So we're going to be kicking things off with the Chapter 1 recruits, followed by the Chapter 2 and their unreleased variants, and then finishing this tier list with the Chapter 3 recruits. So let's go ahead and get started with Chapter 1 Banshee. Now, with that gentle smile and deep stare, I know she'll be a fantastic and active listener who would be there to listen about my problems with me and my soon-to-be ex-wife. Now, she does also look like a bit of a judgmental person, but I think she would at least maintain that and keep it to herself. Banshee would be empathetic, as I know she has given me plenty of extra chug jugs before when she knew my shield was down. That wasn't doing it to help the team. She was doing it to help me. Overall, I think Banshee would be a decent candidate that I find calling me and talking me through tougher times, such as Christmas, and with that, I will throw her into the B tier. We move to Hawk, the gentleman with the long flowing hair and nicely trimmed beard. Now Hawk, he just doesn't seem like he would care too much. I think I would find him looking off into space while I inform him that I lost my favorite dog and how much I miss giving her her favorite treats. Now, at least Hawk would be there for me, but I think he would, in all honesty, rather be somewhere else. He may offer some half-hearted advice to make me get past my divorce, such as immediately finding another woman after being 2 days into the separation. Overall, though, I think Hawk would be present during my hard times, but would not truly be there. So with that, I will throw him into the D tier. Now, for such a daunting name, Headhunter herself seems to be a kind and compassionate soul who I think would be perfect to help me through the hard times. She would be empathetic, she would know what to say and what not to say, and she would help me secure a victory royale with her lawyer so I at least keep something out of this entire mess. Headhunter just has life behind those eyes, that she cares for every living soul outside of the Battle Royale. So she will be there for me and understand the pain I am going through at all times. I know she's just one phone call or text away, so with that, I'm going to give Headhunter the highest tier of S tier. We move to the most famous of the recruits, Jonesy, although for this variant I will be talking about the Chapter 1 recruit variant of him. Now, I'm not a Fortnite specialist when it comes to lore, but I know that he develops over time to become much more of a hero. But during Chapter 1, I think a little bit less of him than the upcoming Chapter 2 and beyond variant of him. He would be there for me, but I just don't see him being there for me. He has a million other things on his mind to care too greatly about some random fellow and his marital troubles he is going through. The Chapter 1 recruit Jonesy is just going to be a mid-tier candidate for me, and with that, I'm going to throw him into the C tier. Following the blonde-haired legend, we have the Chapter 1 variant of Ramirez. Thrown up on the screen is the pre-patch 1010 profile picture of Ramirez. She looks pretty nice, pretty inviting. Now, let's reveal the post-patch 1010 profile picture. There is zero soul behind those eyes. She looks like she has no thoughts at all besides of the battlefield. She has no compassion for anything, no care for me, and especially no consideration for what will happen to my son, little Timmy, during the divorce. I think this Chapter 1 variant of Ramirez is one that I just do not see calling me, simply because I have blocked all contact with her and fear for the day she rings my doorbell. She scares me to no end, so of course with that, I'm going to place her into the bottom and throw her into the F tier. Next up is Renegade, a man with the cool spiked hair and cool arms crossed pose that can be found with his sure shot skin. Now, Renegade to me seems like a much more competent and tender-hearted compadre who will give some fantastic positive reinforcement and would like to take my mind off of the divorce by discussing with me the complex economic situation of the OG Tomato Town having to constantly rebuild itself after each and every time the bus passes overhead. Now, an issue with Renegade is that I can see him being a little bit flaky on me and would not be available at all times and would come up with some lame excuses such as, I have to go, my lasagna just finished cooking, or I have to go win this battle royale, or I'm currently on vacation in Orlando, Florida with my wife and kids. Why can't he just be there for me non-stop? For that, I'm going to drop Renegade down a couple tiers and I'm going to place him into the B tier. So now we have the ultimate recruit, and by far my favorite of the bunch, Spitfire. He has the perfect in-game face that is mathematically perfected to let you know that he is your friend through thick and thin, through common and legend rarities. Spitfire wouldn't even need to be informed about the divorce. He would simply use his friendship abilities to detect that something is wrong with me and would immediately throw down everything and would be there with the large pepperoni and sausage pizza with the root beer to help me during the darkest times. Spitfire, my friend, of course I will throw you at the top, as I am 10,000% confident that you will be there forever and always, so welcome to the S tier. Now lastly, for the first chapter, we have Wildcat, who similarly to Ramirez, I just see zero life behind those eyes. Now, do I feel fear when I look into those eyes like I do with Ramirez? No, I just feel an overall lack of feelings with Wildcat. She might have a gentle smile, but that facade does not show her true emotions of, man, I could think of a million places I'd rather be than here. If she answers my call for help, I know she would let out a huge long sigh, followed by an, I'll be there in a few. Well, she shows up 3 hours later. Now, at least she attempts to do something and will be there for me. So with that, I'm going to keep Wildcat out of the F tier and throw her into the D tier. So now let's move on to the Chapter 2 recruits. We're going to kick things off with the Chapter 2 variant of Banshee. Now, compared to her Chapter 1 variant, she seems a little bit more chill and a little bit more caring. Would she judge me less than her previous version because she has learned to be more empathetic, or because she just doesn't care that my divorce has lasted through an entire Fortnite chapter? I'm thinking a little bit of both. I do think better of Banshee's Chapter 2 variant, enough to throw her a tier higher and place her into the A tier. Now, Carlos is one of the new additions for Chapter 2. With his properly kept haircut and trimmed beard, you just know he holds his life better than me when my ex-wife decides she will no longer help me choose my outfits. He would protect me from the intrusive thoughts about how I smell by letting me know I smell like a summertime meadow. Even as proof, look at his strong guard outfit. I am in good hands with Carlos. Now, I do think that Carlos may offer some sound help for me, but may just offer it at bad times, as he may not be fully able to read the room, but otherwise, I feel pretty good with him there. I'm going to follow up, and I'm also going to place Carlos into the A tier. We move to the blondie Emmy, who has the purest and bluest eyes that I know I can tell anything and will be kept with the utmost secrecy, including how I was the one who actually ate the entire tub of cookie dough while my ex-wife was working that day. Now, would I ever tell my ex-wife that though? I mean, of course not. But Emmy, she will take that to the Battle Royale grave. Emmy would be the friend that brings over her famous chicken casserole, and although the chicken is a tiny bit dry, the tears of joy that flow from my cheeks would make up for it. Emmy is of course one who I'm going to throw into the tip top and place into the S tier. So next up we have Hector, the man who for some reason I just have a hunch he would question me in my complaints and sorrows, simply due to that eyebrow raise. I mean, I know that pretty much all the characters do it, but for some reason when Hector does it, I know that something seems amiss. Now Hector would be there for me, but I think he would be vocal about how I messed up and how I will never find someone like her ever again. For those out there who've been told that though, seriously, never stop fighting the good fight. You're gonna find the one. Hector, although I know you're there for me, your judgment and harsh words makes you a mid-tier candidate who I will have to throw into the C tier. So from Chapter 1 to Chapter 2, we have the much more improved Jonesy, who only gets better throughout each chapter. He has gone through so much over the chapters that I know he will know exactly what I am going through to the minute detail, of which he has experienced my sorrows 1,000-fold. He would listen, offer the best advice that I will ever hear from that day forward, and simply let me know to call him whenever I need him again, as he will always be there. So the Chapter 2 Jonesy is the ultimate candidate, so of course, he meets the criteria enough to be placed in the tip top and thrown into the S tier. Now we have Mansu, who I will immediately note I noticed his outfit known as Ice Stalker. I think he's going to be the one that immediately offers the advice of, just let me know, I'm going to get some dirt in your ex-wife. I'll just follow her around and see what I can get to help you and the lawyer, which is like the worst advice. At least Mansu has the spirit and seems to be a true homie who's definitely on my side, but I just don't trust him enough to actually confess my feelings or anything, as he will accidentally just inform everyone else about what I told him. Mansu is there for me, but is not the one that I need, so I'm gonna give him the D tier. Now we move to Ramirez, who's returned in Chapter 2, but has a lot more life behind her eyes this time. I mean, I don't know exactly what she did to get that life there to begin with, but I'm glad she did it. The Chapter 2 Ramirez will not be placed into the F tier like our previous entrant, simply due to the fact that she seems nice and inviting this time around. I may still question her to some extent, but at least I think she's capable of comforting me when I am told my daughter will only visit me on weekends. So I'm not going to give Ramirez a very high tier, but I mean, I'm at least comfortable enough to place her into the B tier. Last for the Chapter 2 recruits, we have Rio, who I think will try to seduce me during the absolute worst time to seduce me. The way she presents herself with that semi-messy bun in the back, and the way she stares into my soul makes me think she will try and be my new wife, even though all I want is to comfort myself in someone regardless of gender. Now, maybe she's just simply misguided, nothing more, and maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but I am sure Rio will still be a good friend either way, and I am sure she will be there regardless. So with that, I'm going to place Rio into the A tier. Now let's move into the unreleased recruits, who I should note were probably unreleased for a certain reason. Maybe they're crazy, maybe they want to take advantage of my stash of bandages and medkits that I managed to keep through the divorce, but maybe some of them will be there for me. So let's dive in as we start with Amy. Now, with the simple mid-tier stare, I find that she's the one that I know would openly inform me she does not care about my feelings or problems, and instead wishes that I could just be a little bit more, exciting. Amy's the one that I have a major hunch she would rather do anything else, and would be the one that not only ignores my texts and calls, but would simply reply with a "shut up LOL" to me. So Amy, go into the very bottom and go into the F tier. Conversely, we have Dynamo Dancer, who seems to be someone who is grounded in reality while also fighting on my behalf emotionally, as she seems to be the type that would cry alongside me. We all need a Dynamo Dancer in our lives, and she would brighten up the place with her boogie bombs so we can both dance our feelings away whether we want it or not. Dynamo Dancer just has what I need to get over my ex-wife. So with that, I'm going to place her in the tip top and throw her into the S tier. Now, following Dynamo Dancer, we meet Elias. Now, just look at his face and tell me he would care about anything I have to say. At all. Doesn't he need to be about the divorce? Elias is going to be an automatic F tier candidate. So Erica's up next. Now, she has that gentle face that we know we need to confide in her, but look at that haircut. Karen Haircut 101. She may be able to put up with my whining and complaining, but she too is going to complain right back at me, so much so that I forgot I was even being divorced in the first place. Now, that is seemingly an okay thing to get my mind off the divorce, but in the long run, I will just have bottled up my emotions and learned I have not at all moved on in the first place. Erica may be there, but with that Karen haircut, I just know I will not get anything truly accomplished. So with that, I'm going to place Erica into the D tier. We move to Liam, who, like Elias, is just judging me with that stare. But Liam looks like he's angry more so than judgy, so I would simply be too afraid to actually tell him anything in the first place. So with that, Liam will follow Elias and be placed into the F tier. Now we have Hunter. A man so angry, the camera that took the portrait shot of him had to back off. He fears nothing, for his rage has destroyed his fear long ago. He only sees the color red, and his eyebrows are permanently affixed into a scowl. Hunter would be there for me and will rage in my place. But what will he do with this rage? It's unbeknownst to me, for I cannot wrap my mind around that sort of anger. With that, I throw him into the B tier, for I am afraid what Hunter will do if I give him a low tier. Now we have Melody, who has an infinitely better haircut than Erica, which of course means I know she is empathetic towards me. I think she tries her best, but still is not the best active listener, instead thinking of a song from that Travis Scott concert that happened way back when. Her eyes just glaze over after asking me how I'm holding up, and I know she is hearing, but not listening. Melody puts her best foot forward, but it just might not be enough. So with that, I'm going to place her into the A tier. We move to Cyrus, who has the deep stare that is so intense that I think he's not listening in the first place. He's going to be the one that stares a hole through my chest and will have to pick me up after downing me by doing that and that alone. But at least he's there. Place him into the C tier. We have Rick, who to me is just uninspiring. I mean, I really have nothing to say, and I bet he has nothing to say to me as well after he learns I'm staying in a sad one-bedroom apartment with boarded up windows and cockroaches crawling all over the place. I mean, again, at least he is there, and he isn't mad or anything to be there at least. He's going to follow up and also be placed into the C tier. Lastly, for the Chapter 2 recruits, we have the updated textures Wildcat, who earlier I placed in the D tier, but I really don't see anything at all that is too different, so I know she would be the exact same here too. Wildcat, you once again will find yourself into the D tier, as I have found myself without my wedding ring. Now let's finish this tier list and go over the Chapter 3 and onwards recruits. We begin with the Chapter 3 variant of Emmy. What happened with the life behind those eyes? Why does this variant of Emmy now look like she's going to judge and hate me for everything? I don't think anything too greatly of the Chapter 3 and beyond Emmy, as she's the one who I know for a fact would only show up just to hear about the gossip and such, but I would think she's there for me still at least, so I'm going to keep her out of the F tier and place her into the D tier. Now we have Chapter 3 Amy. She was so mad that she was previously entered into the F tier that her visible gaze turned into a scowl. Will I give in to fear and let Amy control me enough to move her up a tier or two? Absolutely not. She is going to go into the F tier once again. Lose the toot, Amy. Now we have Melody. Melody just scares me, plain and simple. She's a recruit that cannot discern Battle Royale from my house, so Melody is an automatic F tier. The last appearance of Ramirez is next. And once again, the life has just faded from her eyes again. Not enough for me to think that she's crazy like she was in Chapter 1, but it is enough to knock her down a tier and be placed in the middle into the C tier. I don't know if she just needs a vacation or what. I just feel the same way with Simone. She seems a little bit judgy for me, but at least she gave me a text or a call or something. She's going to follow Ramirez into the C tier. Following Simone, we have Lena, who has the bad girl hairstyle that makes me think I would overall regret telling her information about what happened, but at least know she in turn would offer some sound advice, such as to simply have faith and be patient. Now, she would definitely think less of me while I bawl my eyes out while eating my favorite ice cream, but at least she's there. Overall, Lena is a solid B tier candidate for me. Moving from Lena, we find one of the most kind-hearted people out there, Joe. Look into her eyes and tell me she wouldn't be there at all times. Joe is easily the one who you should ask to give a hug and cry on their shoulder, for you know she would allow you to let it all out while telling you it is okay. Thank you, Joe, for helping me discover a new hobby such as carpentry during these rough times, and welcome aboard to the S tier. Now we meet the Chapter 3 and beyond Jonesy. S tier, of course. Let's move on. Now, Aiden. Aiden is the man. He knows this exact situation as he had to deal with becoming single again, not because of a divorce, but because he lost his wife in that horrible wreck. Changed his whole life. Now I think he could give me something to reflect on during my struggles, but he might be a little bit too direct and give too much information about what to do, but otherwise, he's what I need. Aiden is going to be placed into the A tier. Next is the man who pulls all the ladies, but in turn is terrible at maintaining a relationship and therefore terrible at giving advice. Chapter 3 Cyrus. He would be there begrudgingly and would tell me how crying gives girls the ick and that if I am ever to rebound, I need to just do what he does. I don't want any of that. I just want to come home to a loving wife again. Cyrus is going to go into the D tier. Following Cyrus, we have the Chapter 3 version of Elias, who has lost the mean look and has relaxed himself a little. I still have questions for him as much as I questioned why I tried bringing my ex-wife some flowers to try and hash things out, but Elias seems a lot more willing to help me, so I will move his Chapter 3 variant up a few tiers into the B tier. We move to Jonah, the fella that I could just tell always has a smile on both his face and my face while going through the storm itself. Jonah may not be the best at timing, as he seems like the guy who would show up an hour later to every event ever, but I know he will still try his hardest to bring out my pearly white teeth. Jonah has some timing and availability issues, which will make him drop out of the S tier and be placed into the A tier. Following Jonah, we find Robbie, who just seems to go too much into detail on asking me how I lost my wife, so much so that it annoys me to no end. I think Robbie is very capable of being there for me, but is also very much capable of asking me a million questions enough to where I use my Portafort to simply drown out his inquiries. For that, I'm going to place Robbie in the middle and place him into the C tier. Lastly, for this list, we run into Chapter 3 Liam. He has that cocky, surefire grin that ensures me he has a plan to get me back on my feet and back into someone's loving arms. Now, is this plan legitimate? That's where I don't really know. Liam does seem respectful and understanding, but may still have some unique idea that has a 50-50 chance to either get me over my divorce or back into the main menu. Overall, I like the surefire attitude of Liam enough to place him into the A tier. And that is it, folks. We now know out of all the Fortnite recruits who would comfort me, console me, or disown me. Now, I think everyone will find that this tier list is going to be basically perfect, so much so that, of course, I'm going to ask you to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, tune in next week where I have another question that will shock the gaming world. Fortnite, you have been shook. But until then, folks, adios.